Now, I don't know about you, but I love scaling. I mean, scaling is one of the most important things you can do for your e-commerce brand. So it kind of makes sense to get it right. But unfortunately, way too many e-commerce store owners out there are currently scaling the wrong way. And as a result, they're actually going downwards instead of upwards when it comes to revenue. They're not really able to be as profitable as they would like. And the entire scaling process is pretty much getting messed up because they're not able to scale properly. And I can't tell you how many times since I've begun running my own e-commerce brands, I've come face to face with e-commerce brand owners. And by the way, I was part of this group myself, where all you're really doing is focusing on the revenue. You're not really focusing on profits or any of the other important metrics, which is causing you to come out in a big red loss at the very end. And like I said, I have been there, I have done that. In fact, it wasn't just until recently where I really understood how much money I have lost because I was focusing way too much on those big revenue numbers instead of focusing on what ran my business, which was profits and ROAS. And let me tell you, I wasn't too happy to find out about it. But to save you from achieving a very similar feat to what I did, here are 7 different ways to scale your e-commerce brand in 2022, 2023, and onwards the right way so you end up profitable at the very end. Let's start off with way number 1, and this is scaling with products. Now, don't get me wrong, it's very important to focus on one product or maybe even a few products when it comes to your e-commerce brand. However, if you just end up focusing on a singular product for way too long, what's gonna happen, at least with Google Ads, is it's eventually gonna die out. And to be honest with you, that's the case for every advertising platform you use. No matter how quote evergreen that product is, it also has a lifespan. You just unfortunately can't sell the same style product or basically the same product forever and ever. I wish we could. I mean, there were times in my own e-commerce journey where I was so attached to one e-commerce product that I just tried to sell it even after clearly it was just a wasted product. It was no longer a winning product, and I did end up losing a lot of money that way as well. But what I learned from that is you need to kind of have a strategy to scale via different products rather than just sticking to one singular product all the time. And let me kind of give you an example of this. So let's say, for example, you're selling one 3D printer. And if we go ahead and go on to Google, we Google 3D printer, we can kind of get a visual view of what I'm about to explain. So let's say you were selling an orange colored 3D printer, and all of these, let's assume they have the same specifications. The only difference is the colors. So let's assume that this is your 3D printer you're selling. You know, it has been selling for you for quite some time now, but you start to notice that your sales are starting to dip all of a sudden. Even though you haven't really done anything different, you haven't changed up the strategies, the sales just aren't where they used to be. What is the issue? Now, when you do a quick search for 3D printer, you start to notice there's a lot of extra competitors now. Some are selling it in the color black, some are selling a purple colored one, some are selling a yellow colored one, some are white, and so on and so forth. And what you start to understand is your 3D printer, which just 5 days ago was one of the most hot items in the market because everybody wanted that orange colored 3D printer, is no longer a viable product in the market. You are now getting outranked and outbid and outperformed by your competitors. And it might not have to do anything with you or your ad itself. It might just have to do with the sheer fact that people's view of the product changed. Now they prefer the yellow colored one, or now they prefer the white colored one. That's just how the market works. So if your brand was a one product store, if it was only focusing all the advertising efforts on this orange colored 3D printer, well, now you just put your brand at a very big risk. Where instead, if you had also had this orange colored printer, but in addition, you had a black colored one, you had a yellow colored one, or whatever else you could now source, your sales, not only would they be much higher, because trust me, not everybody wants an orange colored one. Maybe I hate the color orange. Like, I'm wearing red right now. Maybe I want a red colored printer, and I don't see that you sell any of that. So as you can see, because of a limited product scale, you are not able to scale your e-commerce brand's revenue or profits as a result. So instead, one way to scale your brand is by scaling with products. So you don't necessarily need to go out and reinvent the wheel, find more products, turn into a general store or something like that. Instead, just go to your supplier, reach out to them, see if they have different colored products of what you're selling right now, whatever is a winner. If that's not a possibility, add more products within your niche. So maybe you want to sell different specifications of 3D printers, different sizes, etc., etc. So you want to kind of have different variations, because with Google Ads, at least every different variation is treated as its own product. So if you were selling an orange colored one, that would be its own product. And by the way, if you go inside your actual campaign and you look at this, you can actually see that every product receives a different kind of budget to it. So if we go right here inside this campaign, specifically look at the product section, we can see that every product right here spends a bit differently. And if this product at the very top might be just the color white, this one might be the color black, but each of these has different results. So as you can see, this third one also has very different results. They could be the same exact product, it's just different colors. But the thing with Google is it's going to be treated as its own product. And same thing, by the way, with Facebook. I mean, with Facebook, the white colored variation might be a losing variation, but all of a sudden you try black colored and it just works. So that's why you definitely need to have different variations. You got to lay these products out across multiple different landing pages. That's really the only way to continue scaling. And again, regardless of advertising platform, eventually that winning product is gonna die out. So you need to be prepared for that. But this brings me to point number 2 as to how to scale with your e-commerce brand, and that is through scaling via systems. Now, very different from the first scaling method I mentioned. Scaling via systems is basically you not trying to fill out every single role within your e-commerce brand. What that means is right now you might be the scaler of your e-commerce brand. You might be the one running the campaigns. You might also be the one contacting your customers for support. And you might also be the one contacting your supplier, trying to source products, add products to your brand, write descriptions, etc., etc. As you can see, you're wearing way too many hats, and as a result, you're not able to focus on that one main thing, which is the reason why you're able to scale your e-commerce brand. It could be advertising, or it could be just sourcing better products. Whatever it is, your attention is divided. So instead, what you do is you forget about doing everything yourself, and you really take your e-commerce business to the next level by creating certain systems. So this could be systems like team members taking care of customer support, call support. So you might have like phone service available for your e-commerce brand. You might also have them take care of the shipping, advertising, even optimization, CRO, etc., etc. There are so many things that you can outsource. And speaking about ads specifically, if you're currently doing $30,000 or more per month in revenue with Google Ads, or in general with your brand, you need a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level, go on to my Google Ads agency website, yourmarketing.com, and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But regardless of whether you hire somebody for ads or not, everything else that does not kind of equate to you making more sales, you getting more return on ad spend, should be outsourced, period, because that's taking up your valuable space. And let me ask you a very important question, which you need to answer right now. If you weren't here tomorrow, let's say you're sick, you're in the hospital, or you're out on vacation, you just gave birth to a child, or your wife or girlfriend became a mother, whatever this case might be, what would happen to your e-commerce brand if you weren't here tomorrow, or the next day, or for the next 7 days? For 95% of the e-commerce store owners out there, they would answer that their e-commerce brand would go to ruins. Well, they wouldn't exactly say that, but we all know what would happen if they weren't there. And you might kind of be nodding in agreement that your e-commerce brand is probably not going to survive for long if you aren't there taking care of it. That's a very bad situation to be in. So that's why you got to know how to scale with systems, how to have the right team members, how to make sure you outsource where it is needed. Because trust me, I was stuck in the loop of just doing everything myself. I mean, I wanted to save as much money as possible, and as a result, what ended up happening was I cost my business a lot of extra room to scale. I cost my business a lot of extra profitability, which I kind of didn't get because I wasn't kind of open with scaling via system. So this is the number 2 thing besides just running ads or besides scaling with products that you need to get right. But what is that number 3 thing? The number 3 thing I personally believe can help you scale to the next level is scaling via countries. Now, when I say scale via countries, 90% of e-commerce store owners immediately jump to the conclusion that I'm talking about the top 5 countries: Canada, United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and of course, the beloved New Zealand. But what if I told you that I'm not talking about any of these countries? Let me give you a very interesting fact. There are 195 countries out there in the world right now. At least when I'm recording this video. You might be watching this video in the future and there might be 198, who knows? But right now, there's 195 different countries. That means if you are just reaching out to 5 countries out of 195, you are leaving out over 98% of the countries on the table that you are not reaching to just because you don't want to, because you believe that you should only sell to the top 5 countries because that's where everybody buys. Well, let me tell you that these other 190 countries, they're not living off of just air. They're not just breathing air and just living off in the slums. They also shop online. There's also a lot of rich people in these countries. And if you are not scaling to these countries, unfortunately, you're losing a lot of money. And this is something you need to do more often now than ever before, because there's way too much competition in the top 5 countries. So maybe instead of targeting UK, maybe go out to some European countries like Germany, Switzerland, Ireland, etc., etc. There's way too many countries out there with so many different people shopping for it. And you want to scale your campaigns to these countries by launching all of your products to these countries. Do not make the grave mistake of just launching your best-selling products, because your best-selling products in the USA might absolutely tank in the United Kingdom, or they may tank in Germany, because these markets are different. They think alike. There's different people with different life experiences, etc., etc. So to get the best possible results, launch all of your products within these new countries and then let them get tested via my different testing phases. And again, if you're not sure what phases I'm talking about, watch some of my videos on that. I have a whole Google Ads playlist going over this. But this brings me to the 4th point on the list, which is also kind of related to scaling via countries, but this time you're actually scaling via a better team. So again, going back to point number 2, I said scale with systems. Don't do everything yourself. Number 4 point, scale via a team. So now at this point, you should already be thinking about adding some systems to your e-commerce brand. But again, don't try to do all of the system implementation all on your own, because you only know what you know. What about the stuff that you don't know? And let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff if you have never tried scaling before, or if you've already tried scaling but you aren't where you want to be, that you don't know about at this moment. So in order to scale with the team, you need to add more team members, which you need catering to specific roles that you need filled right now. Not 2 months in the future, not 5 months in the future, right now. What is a specific role that you need accomplished by your team member, and what needs to be done that you can then just easily go out and find somebody to do it for, because that is where you're gonna get the best results. Always be in the moments. Try to find stuff that you need to fill out that can be done at this given period of time. And most important of all, only fill out those roles at this given period of time, which can help you improve your revenue, can help you improve your ROAS. That means don't go out and hire just unnecessary people who don't really fulfill an important task or role that you need accomplished right now. So make sure that whoever you're hiring can directly right now or indirectly in the next 2 weeks, in the next 4 weeks, in the next 2 months even, scale your e-commerce brand, help with the revenue and the profitability. Those are the roles you need to start fulfilling from. Don't go from the bottom up, go from the top bottom, meaning the top roles are the ones that are the most important, which make most important impact towards making your ads better or towards improving your revenue. But this brings me to the 5th point, which can help you scale. This is the 5th strategy I've used time and time again, not only for my own e-commerce brands, but also for my clients' e-commerce brands under my Google Ads agency. That is scaling via ad spend. Now, this might seem kind of self-explanatory, but hear me out, because 95% of e-commerce store owners actually get this wrong. You want to scale via the 80-20 rule. Do not do any sort of other scaling. What do I mean exactly by the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule mentions that you should focus most of your energy on the traffic source that is getting you 80% of the results or more. So if that means out of $10,000 in revenue that you just got, 80% came from Google and 20%, meaning $2,000, came from Facebook, you should put more of your ad spend towards Google instead of trying to focus on Facebook and trying to increase that ad spend. That's just because whatever is working, you want to do more of, and it's much easier to scale that further. And what that could mean is with Google Ads, maybe you want to invest more in search campaigns because you don't have too many search campaigns, or you want to launch some dynamic remarketing campaigns, or you want to invest in a better team to handle your Google Ads account. Whatever the case is, focus your energy on that 80%, which is getting you the most results. Again, this is gonna help you scale very quickly compared to you then focusing on that bottom 20% and trying to make that match the 80%. But this brings me to strategy number 6, which is scaling via actually lowering the expenses. Now, you might be surprised to find out that there are about 90% of e-commerce stores out there just basically burning through their cash, burning through their ad spend, using those unnecessary apps, unnecessary fees that they're paying. And the worst part of all is they don't even know that their money is going towards those fees or going towards those certain apps. That's just the reality of e-commerce. I mean, when you start to scale, you get so in the moment, you get so busy trying to increase that revenue, trying to increase that profitability, that you forget to look at the extra expenses. You tend to forget to look at all the other kind of things that are taking away from your precious budget. So what I would recommend is that you look into certain fees within your bank account that are getting kind of taken out from your Shopify store via the apps, or maybe any transaction fees, whatever the case might be. Really look into them, see if there's any expenses you can cut out from that area. In addition, cut out any unnecessary apps. I know you started your store a while back, so most likely you have a lot of apps which you don't even know about anymore. And the thing is, so many e-commerce brands have these apps that are actually paid apps. They're taking away money for absolutely no reason, just for sitting there within your app section. I mean, I do a regular checkup every 6 months or so of my apps just to make sure that there's no apps I'm wasting money on. And if there is, I request refunds for whatever month that I didn't really use them from, or whatever month I'm starting, or whatever month I'm currently in. And it really helps save a lot of extra money, because if you, for example, take an app that costs you $50 a month and you've been not using it for the last 6 months, that's $300 in total wasted budget. Maybe you could have got maybe 10, 20, 30 sales more with that $300 budget. So you want to really make sure you're not wasting all of that money on unnecessary things. In addition, look at your team members. A lot of the times you have team members working for you who you don't technically even need right now. Really analyze all of your team members, see what roles they're doing, what roles are really not getting done or you don't need done right now, and then kind of let them go basically. It might be difficult at that situation, but it's gonna help save your e-commerce brand a lot of headache in the long run, and plus you're gonna be leaving a lot more money in your pocket. But this brings me to the 7th point and the final point on the list, which is a very effective strategy to scale your e-commerce brand, and that is to scale via different advertising channels. Now, this might seem very self-explanatory, but I personally believe e-commerce store owners start scaling via different channels way too quickly. And I mean, even when they're not in the scaling phase, they're trying to add Facebook, they're trying to add Google, they're trying to add TikTok, Pinterest, Etsy, whatever the case might be. They're on way too many different channels way too early. So instead, what I recommend is focus on one channel in a given period of time until you master it, until you're getting everything on automation fully. And then once it's fully automated, once all the campaigns are running, they're optimized, they're scaling, that's when you kind of go out and reach out to another channel. And by the way, there's more channels than just Facebook and Instagram, because those are two of the most saturated ones. I recommend things like SEO. And I mean, if you use Google Ads, SEO is a no-brainer. Both of them work together. I made a video on this as well on my channel. But doing proper SEO techniques for organic traffic or even for Google Ads directly impacts your free traffic, your organic traffic. So you need to have that done properly. But in addition, try different marketing platforms like Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube ads, Reddit, TikTok. Don't just rely on the mainstream ones, because those main ones, there's a bunch of people already on them. It's way too kind of saturated to begin with. So make your way around the market. Don't just go into the platform where 95% of the e-commerce store owners already are in. But those are pretty much the 7 most effective e-commerce strategies which can help you scale your e-commerce brand to the next level. Again, if you're running an e-commerce brand right now that's doing around $30,000 or more per month in revenue, you need a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly make that happen. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy that like button and destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.